Hey y'all, it's Nat. So I am back with another rewatch, or I guess a reaction to my old video logs from the start of my journey. I'm still on the first week of April, y'all, so it's taken a hot minute. I talked about it in my last video where I did the mid-year check-in, where it was my therapy. I really enjoyed talking at myself, I guess, and being able to get out my experiences of the day, how the all of the struggles I was facing, just everything, being able to speak it out loud when I was somebody who tended to keep it inside and not really talk to anyone about it. I was always the person that was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing good, just working, just blah blah blah." So being able to actually speak on my experiences, which I know I should be better at talking to actual people about this, but it's it's a journey, y'all. That's a journey for me too. So just to start for this day, the 7th, we were kind of ranting about the food tracking just because I know that day, that was the start of my week. So that means meal prep day. The battle was the night before at food tracking in any form, right? There's some people who just track like straight calories. Some people, because I know my roommate, she just does kind of like, because she I think I mentioned it. She's like one meal a day diet right now, like where she just eats one meal a day, and she just kind of tracks to make sure she has enough protein, but doesn't really track everything else. So I know food tracking for everybody is a little bit different, but I was trying to be, like aggressive with making sure I hit my macros, make sure I'm hitting the micros. So the micronutrients, well, to the best of my ability by just making sure I add more greens and stuff like that. But also just making sure I was tracking things like sodium, added sugars, and so I was going full force, and I tend to track my food through my food scale app. So I have the oh god, what's the brand? I'll put it up on, like, I'll add it in here what food scale I use, but it comes with a dedicated app that makes it so much easier because, like, if you want to add in 100 grams of chicken, you would just weigh out the chicken, and then however many grams it's showing, it'll pop up on the app. So I don't know if because I did try my Fitness Pal for a little bit because I know that they have a lot of the fast food like stuff in there. So like if I wanted to look up Popeyes, like breasts, Popeyes, mac and cheese, Popeyes, like macaroni or something like that. Like most of the time, it would have it already pre-saved on there. And I was kind of struggling where the app that I use, it doesn't have a whole lot. Like it'll obviously have like the bare bones whole foods. So, like if I looked up chicken breast, it would have chicken breast on there. If I had like grapes, it'll have grapes on there. But like when I was trying to get very specific things, or if I were to be like hot Cheetos. A lot of times it wouldn't like come up. But since I started just like not really eating as much fast food, it was unnecessary for me to have. I know food tracking is quite a learning curve. Like if you want to be good at it, it takes just a lot of practice. And I know now I kind of have a better feel for it. It doesn't seem as tenuous, like, because I know, like, when you think of learning something in a curve, right, that it's a really steep incline to get all the way to the top to learn how to do it. And so it's like super difficult that first like month or so. And this was me in April, but I think what I was doing before was I was not being as aggressive as I should have been. I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but where I wasn't tracking a lot of like things like the oil I was using. I wasn't tracking like the what is it that Honey Bison says, Miss Melina, where she's like the lick taste spites. Um, I wasn't tracking those. Do I track those now? No, because I try to reduce them because I don't want to learn how to, or I don't want to like take that effort to track them. So I do reduce that as much as possible. And if I do something like that, where maybe I was like, oh, I grabbed a handful of grapes because I was feeling a little snacky on one of my days off. It's like a handful of grapes. Now I kind of know how much that is. That's about like maybe 80 to 110 calories. I would just know to kind of try to keep myself at maybe 2,200 instead of 2,300. And I've actually kind of gone to not really tracking on the weekends. And I know that that's something that that's a slippery slope, and it sure is. But the way I combat that is if it's something that I do not know how much the calories is beforehand, like if it isn't, maybe I have extra meal preps, so I already know, hey, this is about 700 calories. I have one 1,600 left, and I try to make it so that I have ready to like make meals for the weekends because I don't want to take a whole lot of time thinking about what to cook because I don't have any meal preps for the weekend. So I'm like, what do I want to eat, right? And so what I do is I make sure I have like eggs, so I can always still have my breakfast where I can just make some eggs. Recently, I've been really like into having just my Mexican breakfast, which is just like two fried eggs with about a serving of egg whites, and then I fry those with some avocado oil. And I do track the oil. I do track that now, okay? And then I would make some refried beans. So every week for when I'm doing my meal prep, I will make a big batch of pinto beans, right? So I'll make some beans and I'll make sure I make it as flavorful as I want because like the canned beans is what I used to have, but sodium's super insane on that. I don't really sometimes like the taste of it, the canned ones. So I can control how I make them so I can add more spice, I can add, whatever. And then of course make it lower sodium. So I don't add as much salt because like at the end is when I add the salt, and but I try to flavor it as much as I can with other things. Like I saute onion and garlic inside the little Instapot that I make it in, and then I'll like kind of roast some spices in there, some cumin, some chili pepper, some paprika, and then I'll put in the beans, put in the water, and then I'll add some of my sodium-free chicken bouillon. And like the base of that actually does taste pretty good, but of course it still needs a little bit of salt. And I wish I didn't need it. I wish I didn't need it, but I need it, okay? I do need a little salt. And I will put in some salt in there until it tastes like okay. And then so now I have my lower sodium beans, and I already kind of know the macros for that because I made it like where I will make a certain amount of beans, like grams, and I added a certain amount of water in there, so I already have it like pre-saved in my tracking app. But yeah, that's kind of like how I combat the weekend food, not food tracking. Back then, it was I would still track on the weekends in the beginning, just because I wasn't that good at knowing how much food was. Right, I didn't know how to make myself a proper meal without accidentally overdoing it, and so I wouldn't know how to eat mindfully because like my mindful eating was mindfully eating two meals worth in one sitting. Okay, so I had to track back then. Now it's a little bit easier for me where like I said I have things pre-made. So I a lot of times I do have like frozen rice that is weighed out to 125 grams, and I will just like microwave that, reheat it, and then I'll have some chicken like like this is my part of my 20, okay, my 80, or I guess I'm more 70 30, but I will have like some of the Costco chicken nuggets pre-made. I try not to use those very often. I think I use them about once or twice a week. Twice is pushing it. That's if I like really didn't have something else in the house, but I try only do it once because it has a lot of sodium and I can't control that, like so I have to just take the hit on having too much sodium there. And then we always have kimchi at my house, so I would just maybe do like a serving of rice, air fry some of the chicken, like, and I know about how much now because I use that same chicken all the time is the serving size that I want to have enough macros or to have enough like protein. And I would just air fry that and then eat that with some kimchi. And then if I have like some kind of side, I will add that in there as well. And so that's just kind of what I do for the weekends. And I try to be very mindful of my snackage because that's where it gets me. That I do need to make sure if I'm doing like too much snacks, and even if it's healthy snacks, because if I have a lot of fruit in the house, I'll be roaming around, I'll make myself a yogurt bowl, and or I'll get some popcorn, or I'll get some like whatever I have at the house, like carrots, whatever. And even though they're healthy, if I'm not careful, it'll add up. So I just try to be very mindful of like, hey, when was my last snack? Oh shoot, I already had a snack like 2 hours ago. I'm not even like hungry, dude. Chill. So like I'm getting a lot better at reducing my snackage and just being able to know how to make meals that will fit my goals. And but back then, like I said, I needed to track, and tracking was kicking my ass. And again, some of the mistakes that I was making and just hearing her talking about it was that when I used to meal prep, I was like the actual living embodiment of that little kid stressed in the kitchen, whisking that bowl hella ferociously. Like, I was like four burners all on, all had different things going on all four burners. And I was at that same time, while those burners were cooking and I was trying to make my meal preps, I was also like a lot of times prepping the vegetables, creating all the other sides that were supposed to go into all of these three meals. And just like I was doing it in a real crazy way because I had not mastered the meal prepping kind of like the tips and tricks that now I do. Okay. So some things that I do now is whenever I know, because I know a lot of times what I use when I'm doing meal preps, if I know I'm going to use a lot of bell pepper, or because I do use a lot of bell pepper, I like bell pepper, and or potato or sweet potato or just like any kind of veggie or something that isn't already pre-cut, pre-made, because I do use some frozen veggies. When I buy it, I usually buy it maybe like say twice a week. No, twice a week, Jesus. Once every 2 weeks, I'll buy in bulk the stuff that I'll need. And then on that week that I bought the stuff, I will prep it for like the meal prep. So if it's something that is okay to be frozen, I will prep it. So like if it's bell pepper, I'll slice it, dice it, whatever I want it to be for the next meals, and then I'll just freeze it. I'll put it in the freezer, ready to be used in the meal prep for the next week. And then if it's maybe a vegetable that, oh, that's not a good freezing vegetable, like maybe I bought asparagus, or maybe it's like, I don't know, something that just doesn't freeze, zucchini, right? I'll prep it so that I can make it for that week's meals. So I will already just start slicing it, start dicing it. I'll make sure it's ready. And same with like potato and sweet potato. Like I did this last week where I bought a bunch of potato or sweet potato in bulk. And I was like, actually, I'm not going to make it this week, but still, I washed it, I cut it up, and then I just put it in my freezer bags, put it in the freezer so that it's ready for tomorrow, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it tomorrow. And now that saves me so much stress on the days of the meal prepping. So now I'm not trying to grow 3 extra arms to multitask and do that. So the reason why that sucked for the tracking, because I was also trying to track 3 different new meals, like in my meal tracking app, all simultaneously. Like I was weighing the potato for one meal, I was weighing like, and it was just it was such a crazy way of doing it. I don't know why I didn't give up like a long ass time ago, but I remember every single time I would finish meal prepping, it would be I would be exhausted. And I know, like, you guys got me. I think I recorded video 3 after a meal prep, and that's nowhere near the amount of tired I was back then. Could also be I was a bit bigger back then, so maybe I was huffing and puffing for other reasons. I don't know. But definitely, like, now that I've learned how to actually maximize how I meal prep, like, make it so that I don't have to, do 75 different things at once. And as well as me just knowing good, like, go to meals that I can make, that I already kind of know, like, what I'll need to have prepped. So I'm thinking about it the week before, and like I already bought it, diced it, it's in the fridge, it's ready to go. Or like I just don't have to think about creating a meal that has enough protein, creating a meal that has enough good carbs, enough greens. Because I already am like, oh, I'll just go to one of the go to meals that I already did, buy the stuff, prep it the week before, and then make it the next week. No problem. I already know it's going to fit my goals. I already know that most of the meals that I make are good combinations together, because I already did all that hard ass work months ago. Months ago. I think if I still have it saved, oh, actually, I have my tablet right in front of me. I have like notes of me trying to create meals. I do, where it was just me like trying to create. Ah, this isn't even a crazy one. This one was one that I actually, it looked nice. I'm definitely going to be showing you guys this one. It it went off a little crazy, okay? And I was trying to add a lot of snacks in there. I don't do that as much anymore. I have like maybe one or two snacks max that I'm just going to eat the whole week. Back then I was kind of still like in that mindset of I need variety. I need variety or I'm gonna die, so it's not as intense anymore. I'm okay now eating the same thing every day. It took some practice, or it just took some getting used to, and now it's okay. Like I'm okay doing that more often, like just eating the same thing every day, eating the same snack every day. It actually kind of helps a lot with the mental fatigue of thinking and planning, and that's what I was doing for months until I finally was like, release the control, Natalie. Just do the same thing over and over again. That's literally the tip everyone gives you. If you eat the same thing all the time, it'll be so easy to lose weight. And it low-key is true. And I still kind of need variety. So I do have like maybe like 10 meal combos that I like to rotate through. And sometimes I get a little spicy and I do make a new one. And I'll like, if I don't like it that much, not going in the rotation. If I liked it, it's going in the rotation. But yeah, Natalie back in the day, she was bitching and moaning about the food tracking because yeah, I was literally doing it in such a unnecessary manner. Okay. And I've since then evolved. I've gotten better. And yeah, so after bitching and moaning about that, I talked about, because at that point I was just still getting used to tracking my sodium and all of that, and just also just complaining about that because it was hard. It was really hard cutting out the sodium, harder than cutting out sugar, surprisingly. And I think that's just because you don't realize, like, because when something is going to have a lot of added sugar, right? Because you can just like, obviously, right? Like if you get a dessert, it's going to be like 20 plus grams of added sugar. If you eat an Oreo, that's going to be 11 grams of extra sugar. But sodium is such a hidden thing that you don't like. Well, like obviously, food is like flavored, but so much processed food has so much sodium that it's like, it's not even like a normal amount, right? Like where you're like, yeah, of course, a Hostess Twinkie is gonna have like 20 grams of added sugar. I don't know if that's how much it does. My bad, Twinkie, if I'm over here slandering y'all. But when you're like, oh, this can of pinto beans, like some frijoles, let's see how many sodiums it has, and that shit has half your daily recommended sodium or like something crazy. I'm just like, what, why? And you can't take it out, like, so it's just like having to wrangle like a new mindset of, yeah, like you really can't take the shortcut ways with these processed foods and ultra processed foods, because you just don't know where it's going to sneak up on you, what it's going to accidentally hit you with. You don't know if it's going to hit you with extra added sugars you didn't need. You don't know if it's going to hit you with extra sodium you didn't need. And I was deep in that struggle in April, deep in it. Okay. So it is until like maybe in May that instead of fighting, like trying to still make my meal preps with the easy solutions, like easy seasoning packets, with easy, like pre-packaged meats, pre-packaged frozen like foods, prepackaged. What were some of the other ones? Like pasta sauces and just like everything that was already made. So it was making my life easier when I was going to battle in that kitchen every Sunday, or I guess for me it's every Tuesday, but that's like my Sunday. Mm. And so yeah, like it, instead of fighting it, just being like, which ones are like the ones that I truly just wouldn't be able to do, which was for me pasta sauces, where I was like, if I need to make a pasta dish, but I don't need to make a pasta dish. I like pasta, and I try to make it in a way where I can still have my little pasta. And now I just, like, I will track and expect that sodium hit in my day, where I'm like, okay, that pasta dish that I meal prepped, it's gonna hit that sodium goal, and it's gonna hit it pretty hard. So I got to make sure everything else is either fully me prepping it, so that like I'm not using other pre-made anything, because I know those will have more sodium that I can't control, or I will just take a hit that day. I'll take a hit where like that day I'm gonna be over my goal. It's all right, as long as I'm not doing that the way I used to, way Natalie of the past used to. I think my body will be okay. But yeah, so now in the big July and June of in May, of course, in May I started as well. I do make, or I try to use the wholest version of the food, so that I don't like. I know it takes more work, and it actually like doesn't taste, or it's doesn't taste as good because it doesn't have all this extra salt. But I'm getting used to that, where I'm like, now food that is overly salted is starting to kind of give me like, ooh, okay, this is a little intense, and I'm getting used to the milder flavors. I hope it's never going to be like I can't have salted food, but right now I am trying to hit my goals. I'm trying to get myself curved from that need of having all that extra sodium and shit. But yeah, it's Natalie of the 7th of April struggling, and I feel her struggle. Then with also at that point talking about how that was the fifth day or fifth video log in a row where I mentioned, oh, I'm late for work. Like, why is this the fifth time I'm telling y'all I'm late for work and I'm in a rush? And I think what was going on back then in April was just, I was getting a little too comfortable with how can I explain it? I was just not being good at time management. And I don't know how it got so bad, because I know before I was pretty good at getting to work on time and doing all that. But the thing was, I was most of the time rushing to get out the door, not eating breakfast, or if I was eating breakfast, I was getting it on the way to work, like fast food. Most of the time it would be Pollo Loco, and I would get like a BRC burrito, or I'd get myself a quesadilla or something like that. But I started like trying to be stricter with my sleep schedule. So I was trying to make sure that I was going to sleep at the same time, waking up earlier so I can make my breakfast, have a nice slow morning, and not feel rushed. But and did it. I did it really well in like March. Like March, it was like good. But then in April, it was starting to feel like that extra hour I like it, and I even like was talking to a coworker about this at that time because I kept telling him, I'm like, bro, I keep being late. I keep being late. And it feels like no matter how much time I have in the morning, it's just like I'm still leaving the door later than I should be. And I told him, I'm like, my meals are already made. I just have to put them in my bag. And like my breakfasts don't take that long. I just don't know where I am, like where all this time's going, right? Why am I being late every day? And I was even asking, like, how do you do it? Like, what's your routine in the morning? Like, how do you like go about like the day? He's like somebody that's always there early, and like he just went on like just basically to say he has a routine. He has a routine that he follows every day. I think it's just like that military training in him where like schedules and all of that just work. And for me, schedules, at least creating and sticking to a schedule, it's something that I'm always just kind of like, oh yeah, like I should think about making a schedule, like doing all that. But then I just won't do it. Like I just wouldn't do it. So I know like now, because hearing her with her struggles in the time management, what I'm doing now is basically in the morning. And now, like, because before I used to wake up at 12:30 every day. I would wake up at 12:30 every day, and I don't go in until 3. So that means I have to leave the house at 2:30. So that's 2 hours in the morning that I had, and girly was late to work 5 days in a row. Who knows? I was probably late to work even like that whole freaking week. I don't remember. But what I do now is I make sure that like in my head, not only am I like, I don't want to think of myself as someone who's just like constantly, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Like, and getting stressed and being like, oh, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. At first, I did kind of start doing that where I was making sure that, hey, breakfast needs to be completed at this certain time. And I need to finish eating by this certain time. I need to be doing my workout, starting my workout at this time so that it can be done by this time. And then I can go shower, get ready for work, brush my teeth, everything, and then go. And I should be out of the house by this time. And I know that seems so just like duh. So yeah, like obviously, like that was the answer. So it's super hard to know what a morning routine is when you don't have that like modeled to you from childhood, right? So my mom, she was a single mother since I was 12 because that's after my parents got divorced. So she was by herself for a bit. And what the routine was back then was she had to work in the morning. So she started work at 5 a.m. I just remember that where I lived with my mom at that time did not have a bus that went to the school I went to. But where we used to live, where my family lived, we did. Okay, no, at this point, she was already with my stepdad. So that's why we had moved out to apartments kind of far from where my family lived, but was closer to my stepdad's like brother and his work at the time. So we were kind of far, which in Reno, that was a 25-minute drive to my school. And I didn't want to, and I don't think my mom wanted to move us to different schools, especially because like I grew up going to school with my cousins. So I think that's the reason why I wasn't bullied as a child because my cousins are all like cool people. You know what I mean? Like I was blessed to have cousins that were cool kids. So I don't think I got bullied. The only people that were bullying me was my cousin. So, and not even like, bullying. He was just a boy that, like was like poking fun at his cousin, which I know I did the same. So it's like I guess a blessing for for little Natalie back then. But at that time, I didn't want to switch schools. I didn't want to make new friends, and I know my sister the same thing. She didn't want to move schools either. So, and luckily, the school that we went to, or where my mom worked, was on the way to my aunt's house, where she would drop us off. So at 5 a.m., we would wake up, and we would go to my aunt's house. And then at that point I was already ready for school, so like I would just be like dressed in the clothes that I would need to be ready for school in. And then I would just wake up, eat some kind of breakfast at my aunt's house, and then all of us kids would go to the bus stop and then wait and go to school, right? Or sometimes we would have like the lunch or the free lunch, free and reduced lunch at school. It wasn't really like a schedule because most of the time after like I got dropped off by my aunt, I just slept until it was time to go to the bus stop, and then I would just walk there, so. And then it was just like even before then when we were living with my aunt in the house, and we were all like all of the freaking cousins around there, in the morning was kind of chaotic. So it was kind of hard to build a schedule when there's 2 bathrooms and like 6 kids trying to get ready to go to school. And so, like, how do you build a routine there? And then nobody was like there helping us get ready, like exemplifying like kind of like a routine, because all of our parents were at work. They were either already at work, or some of them worked nights and they were asleep, trying to get their sleep, like so that they can go into work later. And so all of us kids were just fending for ourselves most of the time. So yeah, like no real routine was like like implemented into us. I don't know if my cousins struggle with that as much as I did, because the way that it kind of manifested in me, that I was starting to see kind of creep back up on me in that moment in April, was just the fact that I had more time being awake. So like, because I set myself up with 2 hours to get ready, and instead of actually like having like, oh, okay, first I need to do this, first I need to do that, I would just kind of like maybe go on an hour on my phone. Maybe I did get up and went straight to go make breakfast or go to the restroom or do XYZ. But then I would probably start just doom scrolling on my phone for 30 minutes, realize what time it was, and be like, oh, shoot, I need to start like doing my workout. Like I need to start doing my workout right now. And then so I would do my workout, and then maybe I'd go and like start getting ready for work. Maybe I'd be like on my phone some more. And I didn't have a schedule. I didn't know what I was going to do every morning. So then kind of being like, okay, you know what? It's time to get to cracking on making yourself that schedule, girl. Because I think like I started to realize that is what we need. That is actually, it's time. It's time. So when I finally started doing that, where yeah, okay, first things first, you're doing this. Second thing second, you're doing this. And then just never breaking from that format. I still do that every day, even on my days off. Like I will get up. First thing I do is like stretch a little bit, and then I will put on either affirmations, I'll put on something that has a nice soft tone to it. So it can be like literally anything, but I'm not going to wake up and be like, time to put on some, ooh, what's a really good hype song? Oh, like Sean Paul's Temperature. I'm like, time to like get up. Like, no, I prefer a nice slow morning. So I will do that. Like, I'll put something on, and then I'll just go straight to the bathroom. And then from there, go to start prepping my ingredients for my breakfast, whatever it is. Then I will eat my breakfast. I'll finish my breakfast. I will do my workout. And this is like current day. I'll do a little workout. And for me, now that I have my walking pad, I will, I don't know why, I love that thing. All right. I will get on the walking pad and I'll walk 15, 30 minutes. It depends on if I decided to wake up at 12:30 or 1:30. So recently it's been 1:30, and I think that's just because I've been working 5 days every week, and some of the days I was working like 12 hours. So in my head I was like, more sleep, Natalie, less, less morning time. And it actually hasn't been too bad, because even just having an hour and then following the schedule, like following the routine, it still worked out. I still haven't felt rushed. I haven't felt like I was, like, oh shoot, I'm late. Like it's been helping me a lot. So that's kind of how I got over that hurdle. That's pretty much what I was talking about on April 7th. Just a lot of whining and, whoa, what's going on? Like, why am I struggling? But no, I don't blame her. We were trying to switch up our lives. And in that time, it was only 4 months in to a major life change. So give me some grace. All right. All right. And I'm saying that to myself. And okay, so I didn't have coming back from work. No, yes, I did. Yes, I did. So the first April 8th vlog was me leaving work that day. And it was actually my birthday. So April 8th was my birthday. I did have to work that whole week. I didn't take like the day off or anything, because I was supposed to work the day before and then the work the day after. And I just didn't want to take 2 days off, especially during that time. It was really busy. We were like, I think I mentioned the freaking changes at work like a billion goddamn times. But yeah, I didn't want to leave my team hanging, even though I had told them that I was going to take time off for my birthday. I ended up just rescheduling it to be the week after, which ended up working out because BTS released a was it like the Goyang live viewing on like the 12th, I believe. Yeah, it was on the 12th. So I took the Sunday off of that week. So that was my Friday. I took my Friday off instead of like doing like the front of the week, which was my actual birthday. I took the day off at the end of the week so that I can actually have a long weekend, go out and like do something fun with my cousin. We watched BTS. It was amazing. And yeah, so what I started going off about, right straight off the rip, coming out of work, was just the fact that birthdays kind of lost their spark. They lost their sparkle to me, And I think even just for 30, I did make a big deal out of it. 29, I made a big deal out of it. And same with 28. And that was just because like, I think at that point in time, I was just trying to make it special for myself. It was a time where I wouldn't feel guilty actually doing something for myself, which is kind of sad, but it's low key true. And I do kind of talk about this a little bit uh, in the next day. But yeah, like so I did try to, do that, like, oh, it's my birthday week. And I did like these big get-togethers where a lot of the people that I worked with, like, which were like my friends at that time, we went to go to karaoke both years, the 29th and the 30th. And we would just eat, have fun. I made this cake that I just adored. I hope I still have photos of it for the 29th birthday. I don't think I made one for 30. I think for 30, one of my coworkers bought me one, and I was totally okay with that. I remember I didn't want to make a big old cake that time because the other one took me a long time. But even though it's a little like you can tell it's a homemade cake, I loved the way it looked. I thought it was so cute. And yeah, so just kind of talking about how birthdays have lost their sparkle and how the only thing that I really took value out of the birthday celebration was just the fact that as you get older, as you become more of an adult, and especially a single adult with no kids who lives away from their family, there was like very little time where you have like the chance to like not like be like spoiled, but like a day where you're considered, right? Where people are like, "Oh, it's your birthday. Like, let's go where you want to go. Here's a present for you because it's your birthday. Like, here's like we're all going to go out and do this event just be like because we want to celebrate you." And it's not even just like a, "Oh, cuz I get to be the center of attention that day." It's truly just the fact that people are willing to take time off for me to go and celebrate my birthday, and like I mentioned in there that I don't really get that a whole lot in other like because other times where you would have the opportunity to have people give you that consideration and have people like not like even like celebrate you, but like my example that I gave was like Christmas time, right? Where a lot of times families will be like, "Oh, I have the perfect Christmas gift for my sister because I know my sister inside and out. She would love this gift." Like that kind of consideration. And it's not even just like a, "Oh, I just want to like the consumerism of it all, where it's just like I just want to like get them the nicest gift because like that's kind of what I need to do. It's just that consideration of being like I know that person and I want to get something that I know they'll enjoy and makes them happy. And I don't really feel like I have that as much. Like I definitely don't want to say that I don't get it at all because I know the last couple of years I had friends here that we would all do like gifts for each other, and that was always really nice. Like again, I really enjoyed that consideration, but and like just like that experience. And then I have my cousin who I live with, and me and her know each other like really well, so we would buy each other gifts, and they were always like gifts that I mean, I hope she thought that the gifts that I got her were like me being like, I know this girl, I know what she likes right now, she'll love this. So I hope I've hit the mark on most of them. I don't know, but I know like the gifts that she would give me, I'd always be like, this is exactly what the hell I wanted. Like like whatever. This is something that even if it was like I didn't even expect them to get that for me. I never mentioned something like that, but I was like, that's so me. I love this thing. Like just for an example, this year she got me like these Minecraft they look like the torches, but they're like IRL. So they like light up and they change colors. They are like I loved them. I was like, "Girl, what the hell?" I literally saw these on TikTok once. And I was like, "Oh, I would love to get that, but I'm trying not to buy stuff, like but having it gifted to me, I was like, "Wow, I love this." And so yeah, like just kind of going over that how it's not really like for me, I'm not like too obsessed with making my birthday perfect and having like a perfect party doing all this, and it's truly just the thing I enjoy is just people remembering and texting me and like just being like, here you go. And like my uncle, like he doesn't live with me and my family doesn't live with me either, like except for my cousin. And just like for them to message me and like my uncle, he sent me money. He was like, here you go out and like have some fun. And I was like, oh my God, like, like thank you. Like just stuff like that is like the most important, where it's just people are wanting to kind of be like, I see you and here you go. Like I want you to go do something fun, like I don't know. That's truly, I think, the gist of like kind of my birthday rant that I did there. But I know the following because I think that's kind of where I ended off. And then the following day, I ended up going to Dutch Brothers at the very start of the day so I can get my free Dutch Bros birthday drink. And I was planning on going and picking up some cakes from Freed's Bakery, which is pretty close to my house and it's like on the way to work. But I like do mention that usually, like, I would buy like a full cake for like any of like the roommates. So if it was my cousin, if it was my roommate, or if it was my birthday, it would be customary for us to buy like a full cake and then just kind of have a little get together, split it, and then just kind of leave it in the fridge, eat it throughout the week, and that was what our usual was. However, I was deeply afraid of having a full cake in the house. And like low key, like it was like fear where I was just like, what if I have the one slice and I don't have the restraint to stop myself from getting a second? And then another the next day, and then another the next day. And then I was like, then it's just a slippery slope back into like my old life. And honestly, the fear was not, I would say it was not irrational because I think it was just me like actually being pretty not insightful. Like I can see that I would have that struggle, because like sometimes it's hard to be honest with yourself about if you are ready for things or not because you want to be like, oh yeah, like I'm ready, like I got this, like I've been doing really good, whatever. But I was earing more towards caution because like I said, I really want to succeed and I am trying my hardest to get somewhere that I've been wanting to do, like to be at since I was a little kid. Like I wanted to be successful in weight loss. And so I didn't want to make a decision that would spiral me down to failure again, which again, it's that same mindset of if I fail once, I'm going to keep failing after time and time again after, instead of just picking up, learning my lesson, keep going and pushing, like keep pushing on, right? But I ended up working with like a middle ground where I was thinking, well, I still want to be able to be someone that like isn't to the degree where I'm just like no sweet treats ever, like doesn't matter what the occasion is, like I've had enough sweet treats, like because I don't know, that just doesn't seem like the life I wanted, right? And it's always just so important to make sure that like there is like true balance in your life, right? Where you can have the things you want, but just being mindful that it is a once in a while kind of thing. And I was just like, again, trying to make sure that I was ready for it by making sure that I had kind of broken out of the addiction a little bit more, right? Because when you're still like, if I was a month in and it was my birthday and I got a slice of cake or a full cake, I would have eaten that full cake like by myself solo. Well, I mean, not all at once, not all at once. I wasn't that bad, but I would definitely like keep going back. Maybe I would get like two slices in a day. Like I would do that. And I have done that before when I would have cake in my house. Okay. And I would potentially eat that whole thing in a week. And even with my roommate's help. And that's just something that, well, I again was trying to really set my feet on the shore, right? Get my sea legs in here and trying to make sure that I would succeed. I was just like, you know what? Like I'm just going to do a small little step, right? So I was just thinking I'll get slices of cake. So I would just buy it by the slice so that I wouldn't have that temptation of the cake in the background looming in the back of my head and causing me to kind of like lose sight to what I wanted to do, right? Because it's so easy when it's right there and accessible to you to just be like, it's fine. I'll get back on the horse next week. I wanted to just make sure that it was like me practicing how I want my life to be in the future, right? Where it's just I can have it in moderation and keep going back. Like not have this huge like BING fest and then being like, it's okay. Let's keep going. Like I wanted it to be a normal thing where I could just have one slice and be okay. So I was just like, okay, tentatively, little step foot in, that's what I'm going to do. So that I can just be practicing the actual habit that I want to be able to implement in the future. So that's what I did. I ended up getting like I ended up getting two slices of cake for myself. Because two slices of cake was going to be so I can have one on my actual birthday that I could like have like a little like after work, after I got off of work, to have like a little, birthday kind of get together with my roommates. And then I was going to have that second slice of cake on Saturday because we were also planning on going out for somewhere for dinner. I think we went to sushi. And I was just like, and then that can be like it. And I know I tried to cope a little bit in there where I was like, and then I'm gonna get myself two slices of cake. But it's just because like like I was trying to justify it, which honestly, like, again, it was me very much being in that mindset of kind of embarrassed that it looks like I'm just falling back into old patterns and I'm failing. Like I was just like, oh, now they're gonna, like, people would think that, oh, she's slipping back, she's going back. Because I've seen it in a lot of the videos that I consume where people who are on weight loss journeys, that they'll post a video where they have a bit of a rough day, where they have quite a lot of snacks or they eat a lot of fast food. And there is a lot of judgment that comes with that, where people will be like, oh, they're, like, they're not locked in anymore, they're starting to fall back into old patterns. And I don't know, I was kind of like embarrassed that that's where I would be perceived in that way. But again, I wish that I had the brains, or like, not the brains, the coping, like, style that I have now, which still isn't perfect, but where I'm a little bit better about failure not derailing me, and a little bit better at having good coping mechanisms for stressful things, right? And for me, failure was a really big stressor, like the fear of failure, failing, the aftermath of failure, like, it was very stressful. So before, back in the day, I would use food to go through that kind of stress and to regulate. But I was just like so afraid of, like, feeling that taste of failure, and then also just being perceived as a failure, and then not having the coping mechanisms that I normally had. I was just like, how am I going to cope? Like, but again, now I'm in a lot healthier mindset, and I'm able to allow myself to do things that, are just little baby steps into the life that I want to be in. And if it ends up failing, or I'm not ready yet, and it maybe, what, it does cause a little bit of a regression and it makes me struggle a little bit for a couple weeks, being okay that, like, what, shit, stuff happens, like, let's keep going. And now I'm a lot better with that. And it's because I've now done it a couple times, where I've failed a couple of times, and I was able to just get right back on it, and I've still continuously lost weight the whole time. Like, it's really not that serious when you fail. I know it sucks to see it when the scale just stops budging, or when you actually gain a little bit, but as long as you get back on the saddle, like, what's a week or two to be back on track, and start seeing loss again? Because those 2 weeks, they pass by really fast, especially if you're just continuing chugging on. I know it seems hard to get back on a wagon, like, that you've fallen off of, but it is easy if you have, like, a winner's mindset, when you're just like, oh, well, I this doesn't make me, not a winner's mindset. It's like, I always hear, like, Robin from Miss Sunnyside Up Gal that I like to watch, and then Melina from Honey Bison, where they talk about, like, that loser mindset, where it's just oh, like, diets fail, so it's just inevitable that I'm gonna fail and go back to being like this. So why not be happy with being like this all the time, and just, be happy like that? And that, having the kind of, like, resolve, or like the winner's mindset, where you're just like, oh, like, this happened, and I know that I can get back on this wagon and keep going and still be successful in the end. That's kind of what I'm trying to, like, pound into my self-esteem, my brain, everything, because it's very deeply tied to all of that. Because if you don't feel like you are able to have that kind of mindset, or that you're able to be someone who succeeds because you have a low self-esteem, then yeah, obviously you're not going to be able to, like, achieve it. And, well, like, that's what I'm trying to do now, right? Where it's like, I can be somebody that succeeds at it, and I can be someone who sustains it for their whole life, But it's really tough when you're just starting off. It is. Oh, so yeah, actually, speaking of successes, on that day, I was wearing a shirt that I was gifted by my cousin at Christmas time, which at that time, I wish I would have tried it on, because I didn't try it on, because it was a 3X, and I already assumed it wasn't going to fit me. So I was already, like, telling my cousin, like, oh, it doesn't fit me right now, but I'm going to be losing weight, like, so I'm going to start losing weight, and I'll be able to fit into it. And to actually have the success where I'm wearing that shirt now, it's a little bit big, and I've actually, like, met myself in, like, the place that I told myself I was going to be. Because I've been telling myself for years that, oh, I'm going to fit into these clothes, like, these, like, a lot of times it's like concert t-shirts, because they usually only sell up to 3X, or no, not 3X, 2X. And for the longest time, I've been buying these shirts saying, oh, well, once I lose the weight, I'm going to be able to wear these. Because I think like my whole life, I've been wanting to lose weight and actually be in the body that I've always wanted to be in. And I know a lot of like people say like nowadays, right, that that's like a toxic diet culture mindset where everyone wants to just do diets and be skinny and truly like I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to live in a smaller body because like that's just what you want in life, you know? Like, of course, there's the unhealthy, like, extreme side of it where people will go way too far. But, like, it wouldn't be wrong for someone to, who maybe grew up, you know, like in, like, my age, right? Like, that was had like that emo like look to them, right? And maybe in their mind they were like, I'm gonna be like this forever. I want to be the parent that shows up in my like in my minivan, but I'm still exhibiting the look, right? I still have my piercings, I still have my punk rock look to me. Like I never want to change that. Like that's what I see myself like in the future, right? And not to say that's like an actual example of what I wanted, like not to shame it. Like I fucking love that look, TBH. But like no one would shame somebody for wanting that, right? Where it's like if that's something that you envision you want for your future, why is that bad? Like why is it now bad if I were to say, well, I've always wanted to live in a slimmer body. Like I've always wanted to have in my future that look where I was in a smaller body because I always grew up in a bigger body and I always just like that is what I wanted for myself. And I've just like continuously let myself down and never actually took the steps to like try to get the actual like get the actual dream that life that I wanted. Because like a dream life, you have to work for it. Like no matter what. Like if people think that people living their dream lives didn't have to work for it at all, like it's just not true. Like you do have to put effort into it. And I just don't think like myself, like I that's just what I've always wanted, where I would live to finally be the one that breaks that cycle and as is able to reverse back to a healthy body. Because I know a lot of people in my family, my dad's side of the family, they struggle and they're still struggling to this day. And I wanted to be the one that broke that cycle. And I don't think that's wrong. Okay. When I was finally seeing the success of actually, finally not letting myself down, where I finally was able to actually see the like reversal, right? Because I think it's been a hot minute since I've actually had significant weight loss where it's just been up and up and up for years now. So just like to have that little taste of success was very nice. And just like it's one of the things that really reinforced me into staying strong and continuing with my journey. I then kind of stumbled like railroad tracked into a completely different conversation, into just kind of how I was realizing that I had a bit of tendency to have like some people pleasing tendencies, but I never really called it people pleasing tendencies because, like, even now when I'm thinking back on it, I don't think I was ever a people pleaser to the extent that I've seen others people please. Okay, like, to me, people pleasing is somebody who will like push away their own thoughts, opinions, wants, needs, everything to the side so that they can accommodate and please everybody else in their life, right? And to the that extreme, I don't think I was truly there. Like the example or like the reason why I got collided into this was just me being upset that I forgot that my roommate likes cheesecake because I got a red velvet from the the bakery and realizing, oh, they have cheesecake. Oh my god, my roommate would have loved the cheesecake instead of red velvet. And just thinking that like, oh, that makes me a bad friend. That makes me a bad like, you know? And that's not true. Like if my friends were to forget my favorite kind of cake and maybe they got me the second favorite kind of cake that I like because your girl has ranks, okay? And it isn't just like oh, chocolate's my favorite. Here's my list, all right? And that's just a big bakery of mine, okay? But I wouldn't be upset. But for some reason, like I think it is definitely just trauma from childhood, which of course it always is, right? Where I just kind of it's like a mix of what I honestly think is my own love language, which is acts of service. I love being that person who can remember that, oh, you have an allergy to this food. Let me make sure there's something available for you if you come eat at my house. Or that I know if a place can have vegetarian options if I knew you're vegetarian, and just like little things like that where it's just like showing people that I care through remembering what they like, remembering their like like things like that that I think is a totally healthy, normal kind of love language, right? But when you mix in the trauma of being a fat kid who didn't have a really fun time making friends when they were younger, that kind of I can see now might have pushed my dial up to 11, where maybe before, like I would just do that kind of stuff and, do it because, again, it's just what's natural to me. That's just kind of how I show my love, my care. But now feeling like if I don't do it, it just means that I'm a trash friend, you know? And again, like I don't think that does fall under people pleasing because I am nowhere near like the person that would push away their wants and thoughts, like because like I said, it's more like being someone who's a good host, like in like that's how I think of it, or like a good friend is just to understand them as a person and meeting in the middle, like not pushing away everything of my own to make them happy, but to be like, oh, well, we're going to this restaurant that I want to try, but I just double made sure that they would have something you like as well, you know? And like, I don't like, I guess, like, again, I don't think that's pushing towards that extremeness of being a people pleaser, but I definitely did start to get certain unhealthier mindsets where like if I didn't do it, that it was me being a bad friend. And that could just be, again, trauma from not having a whole lot of friends when I was in high school. Middle school I had friends, but it was in high school where I kind of struggled a little bit. And yeah, so I don't think I'm a people pleaser. She was kind of like talking about it, a little worried that I'm like, where she's like, no, there's no way, right? There's no way I'm not a people pleaser. And no, like listening back on it and looking at myself, like reflecting on it, I do think that it is just a love language that, just because of the trauma that I've experienced, I let get a little too uh like a little too much weight. I put too much weight into it, where it's just supposed to be like, oh, this is how I show I care. But instead I'll be like, if I don't do this, I'm a bad friend. Like this is the only thing that I do to show my friendship, my care, my love. So like then if I don't do it, then that means obviously I don't care. No, okay, like relax. And I even like listening to that, I was just like, damn girl, relax. But yeah, so we kind of go off into that little tangent, which actually, funnily enough, makes me go into a tangent about how I go into tangents a lot. I know, riveting stuff. Like, and I know she mentions it. I'm very, very hesitant to say what she kind of talks about, but you know what? Fuck it. Like, truly, like, disclaimer here, I don't know if I have ADHD. I don't know because I've never been tested for it. I've never even had like a teacher or a doctor say, hey, you possibly could, like, so. And I know like everybody nowadays is like, oh, everyone thinks they have ADHD, everyone thinks they have autism because of TikTok. And I don't know, and like I mentioned it on there too, where it's like I've never been tested for it and I don't know, but damn, would it make sense? Damn, would that make sense? But again, I don't know if I have it, but I just know that I do get into tangents a lot. So now I was just kind of talking about how, damn, like I kind of do be doing this too much, y'all. And yeah, like that's kind of where I left off for my birthday ramblings. And it's crazy how I got into some weird little topics just like randomly on my birthday. But I know like she mentioned a little bit more about just the fact that like if I were to be diagnosed with anything, that it would definitely feel like it would explain why I had so much struggle in my life, like damn, like would it just be nice if they did tell me, like, because I was hoping like with the start of therapy, right, they'd probably be like, hey girl, let's get you tested or something, but I haven't done it long enough, and I've also not even mentioned it because I'm too afraid to be a person that's like seeming like I just want it pushed, like the diagnosis pushed on me. But you know what, like if I have it, then wouldn't it be good to know so that I can find ways to actually accommodate, which I think I naturally do anyways, like because I know I have my flaws and my faults. So like I said, like the routine, like how I struggled with like kind of like a time blindness, right? Where if I didn't have that routine, I would just kind of blindly do tasks, not being aware of how long they were taking me and what I was doing. And so I made systems, my routine, so that I can have a good time management, like work, like time management, right? Like, so I can improve my time management. So, I mean, even if without an official diagnosis, like, I just got to find a way to incorporate my quirkiness in my everyday life the best I can. And if that ever comes to be or comes to fruition and I do have it, well, okay, sounds good. Um, but I'm just gonna assume for now that that's not the case. I'm just a little crazy. All right, I guess not crazy. I'm just a little uh, scatterbrained, is what I'll say. But yeah, that was it for my birthday. That was my birthday week. I think I have a couple more that week, and especially I remember that I had one for the day of the BTS concert, which I think is going to bring me into my first non weight loss journey yap, which I'm hoping can be, because I have one more planned for this next coming one. I already have a script ready where it's going to be just what's motivating me in my journey thus far, like what my motivations are, what is keeping me going. And I thought that might be a fun little one to do. And then I think the next one I want to do is um potentially, well, I lost it. I lost my train of thought. I think I wanted it to be a actually, I don't know. I have to talk to my friends about it. I just recently let people know about what I was doing here on YouTube. And now I kind of like, now that I've opened those doors and let them in and let them see what I've been doing, I can probably just ask them for some feedback on what I can talk about next. Just because I have a couple thoughts in my head. I just don't know what would actually be interesting to listen to and talk about. So I might just do a little, reconnaissance. I'm gonna do some reconnaissance. I'm gonna be talking to people, seeing what a good thing or fun thing to talk about might be, because some thoughts, like, I'll just throw the thoughts out there, are talking about some K-pop stuff, because I've been a fan for a while. I'm not as into the entire K-pop fandom like I used to be way back then, but I have takes and I have opinions as a fan who's been in the game for 10 years now. And then also just like maybe talking about, I don't know, like things that are going on, like, you know how a lot of times there'll be like some kind of viral thing going on, and maybe just doing ones where I can talk about those, like, kind of like social commentary type things. But with those, it's a little hard for me just because I'm not on social media right now. I'm trying to like kind of lean back on that, but that's where I think I can rely on my tribe here and ask them for ideas on maybe some interesting topics that we can discuss, or we can discuss. I don't know if they would want to do that, but yeah, just getting the reconnaissance, like I said. But if anybody out there has something they would, find interesting to hear about, just let me know in the comments. Like, you don't have to if you don't want to either. But yeah, I think that's it for me today. I don't think I have enough, or I don't have enough time to do another little vlog, so I might cut this one a little bit short. So yeah, I hope you guys like this uh like this birthday video. That was Nale doing her weight loss journey in the middle of her birthday week and trying to find ways to cope with it. So if you did, please like the video, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.